It's hard to believe, but Poland was completely wiped off the map 3 times. That's not a myth, it's history. And it didn't happen by accident. The very shape of the land helped make it possible. Poland sits in the middle of Europe, on a flat plain that stretches for hundreds of miles. For centuries, powerful empires surrounded it. Russia to the east, Germany and Austria to the west. Its geography turned it into a battlefield, again and again. And even in peace, this flat land made it hard to stay independent for long. In today's video, we'll find out why Poland's geography has caused so much trouble and why it's still one of the most vulnerable places in Europe, even today.
The geopolitical crossroads of Europe. Poland lies at one of the most dangerous spots in Europe, right between powerful rivals in the east and west. To the west, there's Germany and France. To the east, Russia. It sits at a natural crossroads, where trade routes, armies, and ideas all pass through. This land links the Atlantic coast with the vast plains of Eurasia, stretching deep into Russia. Geographers call this area the meeting point between the Rimland and the Heartland, a place where conflict often happens. Poland's land is mostly flat, with no mountains to block invasion. Because of this, armies have marched across it easily, from Napoleon to Hitler. This open terrain made Poland a constant battlefield. Even when new powers rose and weapons changed, the land stayed the same: wide, exposed, and hard to defend.
Historical vulnerability, the curse of the Flatlands. Poland sits on the North European plain, a wide, open stretch with almost no natural borders. There are no major mountains to stop armies, and few large rivers to slow them down. This made Poland an easy path for invading forces, especially from the east and west. It became a military shortcut, used again and again from Napoleon's campaigns to both world wars. The worst result came in the late 1700s, when Poland was slowly torn apart by its neighbors, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. In 3 steps in 1772, 1793, and 1795, they divided Poland completely until it vanished from the map for over a century. It was a direct result of being exposed in the center of Europe with no natural protection. Even after Poland came back as a country in 1918, the pattern continued. In 1939, it was invaded again, first by Nazi Germany, then by the Soviet Union. Polish land became the main battleground on the Eastern Front in both world wars. The damage was massive. Homes, roads, farms, all destroyed. Millions of people were killed or forced from their homes. All of this shows a deep, repeating problem. Poland's geography doesn't just make it vulnerable. It turns the country into a buffer, a space that powerful empires fight over, while the people living there pay the price. Contemporary geopolitical challenges. The war in Ukraine is a powerful reminder that Poland still sits on the front line of Europe's biggest conflicts. It shares over 500 kilometers of border with Ukraine, placing it at the center of NATO's eastern flank. Military aid, food, fuel, and troops all pass through Polish territory to reach the front. Cities like Rzesza and Lublin, once quiet, are now major NATO supply hubs. When Russia launched its full invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Poland saw it as a direct warning. The flat, open land that once invited armies across its borders is now seen as a gateway for threats again. In response, Poland began the largest military upgrade in its modern history. It plans to spend over $130 billion by 2035, turning its army into a modern, high-tech force. That includes new weapons, stronger defense systems, and a huge increase in troop numbers, up to 300,000 by 2035. By 2025, Poland is expected to spend nearly 5% of its economy on defense, more than double NATO's minimum target. It hosts U.S. military headquarters, NATO command centers, and missile defense systems on its soil. And by stepping up, it's becoming one of the most important players in European security. Stuck between 2 powerful neighbors, Poland must constantly navigate old rivalries and modern alliances. It can't afford to stay. Neutral history has shown that staying quiet doesn't mean staying safe. Poland's geography means it must always act or risk being acted upon. So today, Poland's flatlands still carry the same risks they did in the past. Energy security. Poland has a good supply of coal, both hard coal and lignite, and for many years, this was the backbone of its energy system. Even in the 2010s, about 90% of Poland's electricity came from coal-fired power plants. But while coal is abundant, it's not the whole picture. Poland doesn't have enough oil or natural gas of its own, so it has to import most of it, and for years, much of that came from Russia. That dependence created serious risks. Even price changes or supply delays can cause big problems. Today, Poland is trying to fix that. It's slowly shifting away from coal toward gas, oil, and renewable energy like wind and solar. But that transition takes time and money. And even with progress, Poland still relies more on coal than almost any other country in the OECD. Environmental vulnerabilities. The country is mostly low and flat, positioned between two major climate zones. This position brings big environmental challenges, especially when it comes to water. Poland has only about 1,500 cubic meters of renewable fresh water per person. That's low enough to make Poland a moderately water-stressed country. Climate change is making this worse. The average temperature has already risen by more than 2 degrees Celsius since the mid-1900s. There are more hot days now, and fewer frosty ones. That means more droughts, more floods, and more sudden storms. These changes are damaging water systems, drying up groundwater, and putting pressure on farms. Poland's agriculture depends on steady water supplies, and those are becoming harder to count on. Floods can wash away crops, while dry spells threaten harvests and increase the risk of forest fires. This isn't a future problem, it's already happening. And because Poland's land is flat, water doesn't drain quickly or store easily, making both floods and droughts more extreme. The Ministry of Environment has called water and agriculture two of the biggest national concerns. Climate change, acting like a force multiplier, is turning Poland's natural disadvantages into much bigger threats. The paradox of resilience. Poland's geography has always made life harder, and yet, somehow, Poland has always endured. This endurance isn't just about survival, it's become part of who the Polish people are. Centuries of invasions, partitions, and occupation have shaped a national identity built on resilience, caution, and humor, sometimes dark, but always honest. Poles often describe themselves as pessimistic realists, because history has taught them to expect the worst and to survive it anyway. Poland knows its land offers no natural protection, so it has worked hard to build protection through alliances. Joining NATO in 1999 and the European Union in 2004 weren't just political moves, they were survival strategies. Today, Poland hosts U.S. military command posts and contributes heavily to NATO defense, not just for itself, but for the whole eastern flank. With one of the fastest-growing armies in Europe and a louder voice in the EU, Poland is becoming a central player in Europe's future. It still faces major challenges: a shrinking population, uneven development, and rising environmental threats. But unlike in the past, it now has a strong say in how those challenges are handled. Poland's story is a rare one, a country that was wiped off the map not once, but 3 times, now helping defend the very borders of Europe. Its flat land, once a curse, has become a proving ground. And what we see today is a nation that has taken the hardest geography in Europe and used it to build a new kind of strength. Thanks for watching and being with us today. If you have thoughts, questions, or even your own story from Poland, go ahead and leave a comment down below. We'll see you next time.